my personal favorite thing about Ramadan. I think it seems to be a time when just Muslims are happy, which is a really wonderful thing. I think there's just a kind of spirit that you see in Ramadan that you don't see other times of the year. I mean, I was really struck and, really reduced to tears seeing the people in Gaza putting up lights. Amidst all the rubble, and celebrating their iftar in that communal. It was pretty stunning to see that. So may Allah give them some peace and rebuild their homes, inshallah, and protect them from any ethnic cleansing. Alhamdulillah. But yeah, I think that's probably, one of my favorite hadiths, which I think is the best answer ever that anybody who's ever been asked what your favorite meal is, when the Prophet said, "Alladhi kathurat fihi al-aid," the one that has the most hands in. Like you could just not give a better answer. Because he wasn't looking at the food, he was looking at the communal nature of eating. Like one of the things that really struck Sheikh Khatri when he came here is that people ate alone. And Abdul Muttalib would never eat alone, and this is Jahili Arabs. But Abdul Muttalib would never eat alone, and when he was on long journeys and he was alone and he had to eat, he used to find a rock, and he would put the rock up, and then he would give a luqma to the rock, and he would talk to the rock. So, but just eating together, tazawur. Imam al-Haddad, he said, al-Islam shajaratun tusqa bit-tazawur. فَإِذَا انْقَطَعَ التَّزَاوُرُ يَبِسَتْ الشَّجَرَ وَتَمُوتُ. He said, the tree of Islam is, the brotherhood of Islam is like a tree that is watered with visitation. And if you stop visiting one another, the tree will dry up and die. So one of the things that happens in America is people get atomatized, and they live in isolation. A nuclear family is not a family. A nuclear family is not a family. You can call it a nuclear family, but it's not. A family is aunts, uncles, cousins. That's a family. A family is a clan. And it wasn't that long, even in this country, when that was the way things were. Now it's reduced to just a mother and a father, if they're lucky. If they're lucky. But then both are working, so these kids are put into daycare centers. And these are tragedies. So I think Ramadan, for me, it's that time when people break the fast together, come together. It's a great blessing in just community. Because you need community. We can't, as a species, it will kill us. It's already having horrible effects. There's so many unhinged people, there's so many unwell people, and a lot of it has to do with they don't interact. Somebody said, when in 2016, it was, somebody said, oh, they were so shocked that Trump, and they said, nobody I know voted for him. Because all you do is you live in your little bubble. You live in your little bubble and you don't realize there's other worlds out there. There's other peoples, there's other opinions, it's not just your insular worldview, and people need to get out of themselves and recognize. One of the biggest calamities, in my estimation, in the Muslim community is our inability to talk freely about things and just to be able to discuss things and have different opinions and not hate one another because you have different opinions. Because this world is not an easy place, and it's very difficult for a lot of people. There's a great deal of difficulty in life on earth and making sense of the world. And there's a lot of confusion. And young people go through, it's very difficult to be young today, and there's so much confusion. Things are breaking down, authorities breaking down, nobody trusts anything. You can't trust the science. It's hard to trust the science when science has been co-opted by corporate enterprises, and it's more about money than it is about helping people. So people start losing trust, things break down, and then when things get confusing, people are bewildered and ask questions. And so traditionally, the Muslims were people that had answers to a lot of the questions. But now Muslims themselves have become very confused, and the religion gets distorted, it gets hijacked, it gets impressed into things that it's really not, was never meant for. I mean, our religion is not, it doesn't have a political party. There's no political party. Muslims in America can't say Islam is democratic or Republican. It's not. It's its own thing. And politics is always going to be a divisive thing, which is why traditionally ulama tended to stay out of politics, because whenever you get into politics, people get split on politics. So a lot of the ulama they didn't really have political opinions in that way. They just wanted to remind people, teach people, keep people connected with their Lord. It doesn't mean they don't, and there are ulama that do, and there are ulama that worked with governments, and there's ulama that stayed away from governments. Those were all, if you look at the history of Islam, there's no black and white. I mean, there were great, the two great students of Abu Hanifa, one of them became a qadi, and the other one was very upset. Well, he couldn't believe he became a qadi. But they had different views on, because the Prophet warned about being a qadi, but at the same time, if nobody is going to take the qada, then it's left to the worst people. If the good people don't take it, it's left to the worst people. Even in the governments, you can talk about people who work in these governments, but in the end of the day, those are the governments that the Muslims have. And if there aren't scholars there to teach the people, if it all just becomes tear it all down, then when is there going to be any peace for people? When is there going to be any teaching? Well, who's going to run the masajid? Who's going to be the imams? Who's going to give fatwa to the people? All those things. People don't think about these things. So these are all ijtihadat issues of where people decide. Even I was saying the other day, I was reading something about how Islam, you have to be in a group and you can't, The Prophet ﷺ said towards the latter days, people, if they want, they could just check out completely. That's a right of people to do that. They can just check out completely. The Prophet talked about people, they just flee to the mountains and they just fulfill their own personal right with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Prophet said the better is to stay. The best of you are those who mix with people and are patient with their difficulties. Because being with people, it's not always easy. Everybody has the uncle they don't want over for the iftar, but he comes anyway because it's family, and that's just part of life, right? And maybe you don't. Maybe your family's perfect. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Subhana rabbika rabbil 'izzati 'amma yasifun. Wassalamu 'alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil 'alamin.